What is up, everyone? Welcome back to our lawn, and it is finally although it sucks outside today, springtime. And that means we can all emerge from our caves, from our seasonal depression of suffering through winter, and we can get out there and start to get back in the lawn. And with spring comes an onslaught of videos, advertisements, sometimes both, articles, suggestions, everything about pre-emergents. This is going to be the most important thing you do, the end-all, be-all of your yard. You're never gonna see a weed again. Crabgrass, which, depending on who you ask, is every grass type that doesn't look like the turf that you want in your yard. It's not. Trust me, if you live in the north and you have a problem grass that you're seeing right now, that's not crabgrass. I promise you. But all of that, none of it's ever going to be a problem ever again. You're gonna be weed-free for eternity. And while that makes a clickable thumbnail and an engaging video topic, not really entirely true. For example, I did not put any pre-emergent down in my yard last year, and I do not plan to again this year. So in this video, what I am going to try to do for you is to break down what pre-emergents are, how to use them, and what you can expect, and how to make the decision of whether or not it's something you want to spend the money to apply in your yard. So what are pre-emergents? Well, pre-emergents are herbicides that are applied and watered into the soil, and what they effectively do is prevent a plant from establishing itself from seed. Basically what happens is the seed germinates and it's creating a space in the soil where that seed cannot establish any roots. Further, there are some pre-emergents like dithiopyr and pendimethalin, tenacity, although let's please not include tenacity as a run-of-the-mill pre-emergent for, say, crabgrass or something like that. It's really not that effective. It's really more meant for seeding pre-emergent, as well as some grassy weed control, but that's a different video. We're not talking about it in this one. And what a pre-emergent will not do is have any impact on perennial plants. That's why you can apply it with your grass, because your turf grass is a perennial plant, i.e. one that is not coming back from seed, but one that is coming back from a dormant plant from the previous year. So established dandelions, clover, all sorts of other broadleaf type weeds are not going to be stopped or impacted by a pre-emergent. So because of that, there's no guarantee when you put a pre-emergent down that you're going to have a weed-free yard. In fact, I would say there's a guarantee that you are still going to have weeds. Ideally, you're just going to have less and fewer grassy weed problems that can really start to become an issue over time. With that, they also don't distinguish between plants that you wish to grow and plants that you wish to not grow. So if you have yard adjacent to a garden, or you wish to do any sort of seeding of actual grass in your yard, if you have any of those types of plans, you cannot put pre-emergent in those areas because it will prevent your grass seed or your vegetables or whatever from establishing and growing. And for your reference then, when we're talking about what pre-emergents are, there are 3 active ingredients that are the most common. Pendimethalin is the first. That is the active ingredient in Scott's Halts. Dithiopyr is another common one. This is synonymous with the brand name Dimension. Dithiopyr can have some post-emergent impact on crabgrass if you're a little bit late and there is some that has emerged, but it's just freshly emerged. Dithiopyr might take some of that down. And then the last, and probably the one that's most commonly talked about on the internet, is prodiamine, otherwise known as, from a brand name perspective, Barricade. Prodiamine is the active ingredient in the pre-emergent that Yard Mastery sells, and is the active ingredient in a lot of the granular 007 type bag fertilizer products. Dithiopyr and prodiamine both also available in liquid and granular forms, and then you have the water dispersible granular of at least prodiamine available as well. At this point, if I could just take a little aside here, if you're finding this video helpful, this type of information useful to you, go ahead and give the like button a little chin scratch. He's a good boy down there. He likes that. And so with that, we transition into how to apply. As part of how to apply, we'll talk a little bit first about when to apply. When to apply is when your soil temperatures are getting above or around 50 degrees and are on the rise. Now, you can either go out there with some sort of soil thermometer and actually measure your yard yourself, or more easily, you can go online and use a tool like the one from Syngenta, their Greencast soil temperature tool. Go in, put your city, zip code, whatever, and it will show you the 5-year and 10-year average, as well as your current soil temperature. And then I would say you're going to combine that information with what your forecast looks like. If it looks like the temperatures are going to stay elevated enough to get soil temperatures to rise, then it's time to go. If you're from the Midwest and you have the seesawing springs, I would wait until your forecast shows that you're going to get sustained warmer temperatures. You can put these products down earlier, however, you're just losing a little bit more efficacy on the back end when you're more likely to have a lot of this grassy weed pressure. Like I mentioned, if you're choosing something like prodiamine, you have the option for a liquid that you can purchase. A granular, or a water dispersible granule, which is a granular fertilizer that you're going to put in water and dissolve. Now, on a per application basis, granular is the most expensive of the option. However, one-time costs to purchase them, liquids and the water dispersible granule, are going to be a little bit more expensive to buy at one time. However, they're going to cover a lot more space and thus be cheaper to use over time. And so with granular fertilizers, if you do something like a Scott's Halts product geared more towards homeowners, you're going to look at the bag and the bag is going to tell you how many square feet that bag is supposed to cover. Now, again, in like any application, you need to know how big your yard is. So with that, go ahead and click the video up over there, as well as link down in the description, and go and figure out how to measure your yard so you know how much product you need. So with the granulars, you're going to always, in all of these cases, read and follow the label. So if you have a 5,000 square foot yard, you're going to take that Scott's Halts bag that covers 5,000 square feet, and you're going to go out there and you're going to apply. For granular fertilizer applications, we want to generally use a broadcast spreader, and we're to go out there and throw so you see product going to the wheel tracks of your previous pass. I suggest going on a low setting on your spreader, going across your yard one time, seeing how much you have left, make any necessary spreader adjustments, and go over again in the other direction. This is going to help ensure the best possible coverage. With that, then after the application, hopefully you're doing this in spring, and you can time it with a rainfall. If you don't have any rain in your forecast, then it's time to apply, then you're going to want to water it in immediately after. If you have a more commercial type product that doesn't have a square footage coverage on it, it's somewhere on the label going to tell you the pounds per 1,000 square feet that you need to apply. You need to again measure your yard, know how big your yard is, multiply the pounds per 1,000 times the number of thousands of square feet that you have, and that will give you how much product you're supposed to have. Weigh that out, put it in your spreader, spread it evenly across your yard. Liquids, it's the same exact concept, except you're doing it out of a backpack sprayer or some other form of sprayer, not hose end, either handheld or if you have some sort of big boom apparatus, whatever, something like that. Again, you're going to go to the label. It's going to tell you how many ounces of the product should be applied per 1,000 square feet, usually applied via 1 gallon per 1,000, but it will tell you the carrier volume that you're supposed to have as well in terms of gallons per 1,000 applied. You input that amount of product into that amount of gallons of water, and you apply evenly across your yard. Again, volume that you're supposed to use times thousands of square feet of your yard gives you the amount of product you need. Water dispersible granular, exactly the same way. Measure it out, the weight that you need, put it in the sprayer, mix it up, make sure it's good and mixed into the water, go spray. Same process as the liquid. And then much like the granular, you're going to want to water in the liquids as well. And so you now know what they do, how they function, how to apply them. Now, how do you make the decision on whether or not it's something that you actually need to do? My personal recommendation is that if you are new to lawn care and you're just getting started, that's a year that you're going to want to use a pre-emergent. There's a good chance your yard is thin. It's going to suffer a lot from weed pressure. You need every possible tool in your arsenal that you can use to try to help. It's why last year I included it in the brother-in-law program, because that was the first year we were managing that property, and I wanted to make sure we limited any of the variables that we could. If you have historically seen yourself with crabgrass or other annual grass weed problems, that's going to be another reason to go out there with a pre-emergent on a consistent basis every year in your spring. If you don't have a crabgrass problem, if you don't have an annual grassy weed problem, if you have been taking care of your yard for a couple of years and it is thick and healthy and growing well, that's where I'm at. That's why I'm not putting pre-emergent down. It's not solving any problem for me. And not only is it not solving a problem, but some of them can cause some root pruning, i.e. it's going to kill off, slough off some of the root mass of your grass plant, thus making it a little bit less able to tolerate stresses that were coming into the summer. It's going to have to regrow, reestablish that lost root mass. So not only if you're somebody a couple years into your lawn care journey and your yard is quite thick and lush and healthy, are you not solving any problems? You're potentially creating some problems. So I'd recommend for beginners early on, new home, new construction, those types of scenarios, absolutely get out there with a pre-emergent. If you're a couple years into your lawn care management, you're not seeing a lot of grassy weed problems and your yard's pretty thick, I wouldn't bother. If nothing else, experiment for a year. If you do have a problem come up, then you know it's something you need to do on an ongoing basis. And so there you go. Hopefully that's as pragmatic and helpful of a description of pre-emergents as I can give you, in the hopes that you understand what they do, what they're intended to do, what they're not going to do. Hopefully a little bit helpful in terms of how to apply them. There's hundreds of videos out there on how to apply pre-emergents. You can go and find one of those to get a little bit more detail, maybe a little bit more demonstration than you're getting in this video, but it's just like applying any other fertilizer. herbicide, product, whatever. And then hopefully how you can make that decision for yourself if this is something that you need to do. So if this was helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you want to follow along to what we're doing here in our lawn. Leave a comment below with any questions you might have. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.